like a dreamer. Fly all over the world. Open yourself so the world can see. You're a beautiful pearl. Live your day like you mean it. And don't forget who you are. You're free to go anywhere. There's no distance too far. And I just can't get enough of your energy. I just can't get enough. You're the spark shining in the dark. Oh, 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 oh.
Welcome to It Is What It Is with Cindy Seville. So happy you're here today. I have a wonderful show in store for you, as always. It Is What It Is a show all about real people sharing real life stories. Stories of adversity, overcoming adversity, and doing things to inspire others. So thank you for tuning in. I can't wait till you meet our guest. I'll introduce her in a second. Make sure you comment, like, and share. And you might be the lucky winner of this book I wrote. It's called It Is What It Is. And it's, you know, I say it like it is. It's my journey with breast cancer, my adversity that I overcame, and hopefully I'm inspiring lots of you. So make sure to comment, like, and share. You can win this book too. Now, when we come back from the commercial break, you're going to meet a fabulous woman. She is actually happens to be a very dear friend of mine, one of my closest friends in the entire world. Her name is Elena Westhaver, and Elena Westhaver owns an organization or a company called Silvermine at Home. It's a home care agency, and where they provide quality non-medical home care. And really, it's the creme de la creme. It's the tops. So I can't wait till you meet her and learn all about her story. She did not start in home care and health care, and so here she is providing care for so many people. So when we come back, you're going to meet Al. See you in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
Silvermine at Home, a Connecticut-based non-medical home care agency servicing Connecticut and parts of New York. Silvermine caters to their clients' needs while offering peace of mind to their families so their loved one can age in place and live their best life possible. Call today to see how they can make a difference in you or your loved one's life. Our family caring for yours. Visit silvermineathome.com or call 203-228-5007.
Welcome back to It Is What It Is with Cindy Seville. We have Elena Westhaver here, owner of Silvermine at Home. Welcome, Elena.
Thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited you're here, and for many reasons. You've been a big supporter of the show, and I can't thank you enough for that. You believed in me from day one, and I appreciate it. And we met 4 years ago. And oh my God, it's been a hell of a ride ever since.
A whirlwind ever since. Yeah, it'll be I think it's about 4 years, maybe in September. We were at a health fair, I believe, right?
Yeah. And we just clicked instantly.
We instantly clicked.
Two crazy chicks.
Yeah. I think that might be an understatement. Yeah. Well, you know, when you're in the position that we're in with elderly care, I saw you and I immediately wanted to gravitate and it was like an energy being pulled towards you, and it was for a great reason, and I'm blessed for it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I felt the same way. Really clicked, and you're always a ray of sunshine, and really you do amazing things. But so let's talk about. We're going to kind of go back in time. We're going to start. Where'd you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your family.
Right.
What kind of career you chose, because you didn't choose home care. That wasn't your first.
Correct.
It wasn't what you first thought you were going to go into. Somehow you landed there. So we're going to kind of talk about how you landed there. Where'd you grow up? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in Connecticut. I have a brother and sister, and my parents are luckily still alive.
Yeah.
And we called it the Castelli compound. So we basically lived in Springdale, in Stamford. And we all lived in the same area. So my cousins were across the street, behind us, everywhere, and we're a large Italian family.
Yeah.
So I went to elementary school, and then we went to Catholic school. And then when I was in 7th grade, my parents wanted us to be in a better a school district. Yeah. So they moved us to Wilton, Connecticut. So
beautiful
I went
area.
to high school, beautiful area,
Yep.
great education.
Good schools.
Really great schools. And then I went to college shortly after that, and I landed in for 17 years. I'm a very loyal human. And I worked in marketing research, but there was always something that was missing. Like I wanted to give back, and I had to work. I couldn't just volunteer.
Of course.
And I got married many years later in 1996, and unfortunately got divorced. But I had 2 beautiful children, Christopher and Juliana, and went through a terrible divorce. But it's unfortunate. But
it happens.
It
a lot of us.
It happened.
Yep.
But ironically, one thing that I wanted to bring up that right after I got married in 1996, my husband at the time, got acutely ill out of nowhere, and I sent him to the hospital, and he was on a respirator within minutes.
Wow.
They thought he had Legionnaire's disease, cancer, and they couldn't find out what was wrong with him.
Right.
But I advocated. And, everyone's like, Ellen, you need to pull the plug. And I'm like, pull the plug on what? There's something wrong. Because I didn't have a medical background back then. And he was very young. He was only 24.
Wow.
And I'm looking at the vitals, and I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah.
And with my advocacy, I met with the medical director at the hospital, and I was able, with my own mouth as a 24-year-old, I basically didn't know much, and he was able to live many years after that, and we had 2 children, and I think that's the beginning of why I chose to have my ladder and my career. So I spent 17 years working in the corporate world, and then, again, divorced many years ago, and I met my neighbor, who was my husband now, Curtis. Love you, babe. And
awesome guy.
Awesome
very
guy.
supportive.
Yeah,
yes.
very supportive.
Yes,
He's excellent.
yes,
So
yes.
he had two boys from his first marriage, and I had Christopher and Juliana, and we blended both families, and a few, got married, and we'll be married, it'll be 17 years in July, and then we have our Kylie, who's 16. And then we also have a dog, so Luna, my best friend Luna.
So it became like the Brady Bunch family.
It was a Brady Bunch family, exactly. And it was not easy. It was 5 kids, because it was 5 kids, but my stepboys are wonderful. They're they were much older than my children, and then they coddled Kylie like they were her, they were baby sister, and she's still spoiled. Sorry, Kylie, you are. We love you anyway.
Well, she's the youngest.
She's the youngest, exactly.
So what do you expect?
Yeah, so everyone's out of the house now. It's just Kylie and the dog. So it's, it's much different than it was years ago.
And the dog is like another kid.
Oh yeah, like another kid. Yeah, that doesn't talk back.
So you were in corporate. 17 years?
17 years, yes.
Seems like there's a lot of 17 years going on here. So 17 years married, 17 years,
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're very perceptive as always.
Yeah, I'm big into numbers. So corporate, what were you doing in corporate?
So I worked for a marketing research company, and I was hired as an admin straight out of business school, and did that for a long time. But with it was marketing research. I never liked numbers. And I'm like, how do I end up in a marketing research company? But I think the higher power wanted me to learn more about numbers and to say, what, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that you're not going to be good at it.
Exactly.
So we did,
business. Kind of gives you that more of a business mind, which you now need, right?
Well, exactly. And it was all about client services, which puts a huge thing as to what I do now, because it's all about being honest and being in front of people and giving them your best, foot forward in what you
Yes.
do. And so I did, presentations and charting and, that kind of thing. And I loved my job. I have wonderful friends that I still, have to this day. But it was just something that I just knew was in me that I wasn't doing.
Right. Something missing.
Something missing.
So what did you decide to do? You just said, all right, 17 years, boom, I'm
well,
done.
you're going to love this. So 5 kids at home, and I'm sitting down with my husband, Curtis, and I said, babe, I'm going to nursing school. He's like, excuse me? And he's like, well, how are you going to do that with the 5 kids at home? And I said, I'll figure it out. So what I did, one of my nursing friends told me to get my certified nursing assistant degree, which I did.
Yeah.
So I went
CNA.
from
Yeah.
CNA, correct, and I went from having, a great corporate job to making minimum wage, maybe a little bit less than or a little more.
Yeah.
But it was the most incredible thing I ever did because I learned hands-on how to care for people, and that changed my life.
Yeah, that takes a special person, because I will tell you, I've been, we met because of the senior living healthcare industry, and I love seniors. I work with seniors. I love helping people, but there's a limit for me. I can't do that hands-on.
Right.
I can't touch.
A lot of people can't.
I can't touch. I can't touch the. Yeah, I remember being in. I was working in assisted living, and this one woman, she was hysterical. She was actually from New York somewhere. Very crass woman. She loved to swear, so I loved her.
We would love her. Oh, yeah, I love her.
Yeah, we love her. Exactly. Fell in love with her, and but she definitely had some dementia going on, and she would. I would have tourists come in, and she'd walk by screaming and yelling and swearing. It was hysterical. But one day she's sitting at the front, and she had the pendant, that help I've fallen and I can't get up pendant, and so she had the pendant and the life alert, and it was tangled because she got dressed and she got it tangled. So she's like, hey, come help me. Get over here. I need you. And so it was me. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking I could do this. I didn't have to change her. I didn't have to clean her. Well, she dribbled all over her shirt. It was all wet from her drool, from crumbs.
Yeah.
And I couldn't handle it.
get
But
it.
I helped her.
Right.
Oh my God, it didn't work.
Well, at least you tried to help her.
I tried. I would do anything for anybody, but it takes a special person like you to actually, to give that hands-on care. And there's so many. Well, we're going to talk about it, but people have a heart, doing this. And listen, you didn't do it for the money.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
Exactly.
So what were your hopes at the time when you became a CNA? What were your hopes?
I never really thought about it. I just knew that I wanted to, do something with the elderly.
Yeah.
And with my, business acumen, I started out working in a nursing home, a couple of different, assisted livings, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And then I applied for a local hospice in Connecticut, and I will tell you that job changed my life.
That takes a special person. Too.
Well, hospice is, when I tell you, an incredible calling, and what I do for a living, or did, as a CNA back then, I've taken, with my 2 hands, taking care of 21 years old with ovarian cancer. You name it.
Right,
but
right.
one gentleman in particular, I can't say names because of HIPAA, but he was a 55-year-old, and I'm going to cry, 55-year-old with ALS, and he was nonverbal.
Yeah.
And he would only allow myself and my coworker to care for him. He had a bullet list of 12 bullet on how to shower him. Well, in either case, he again was nonverbal, so he was able to type very gingerly. And he said one day to me, Elena, why would a beautiful woman like you be wanting to care for a sick man like me? And it just resonates because I'm a guest in, a visitor in this wonderful man's home.
Yes.
And he knows he's dying. He's alert and oriented.
Yeah,
he's just ill with a
It's like
terrible,
trapped in
correct,
body.
debilitating disease.
Yeah.
And he was all but like 75 pounds soaking wet. And he said, Elena, one day you're going to do great things.
It made me cry.
Sorry. I'm very emotional, but it's for good reason.
Of course.
I've met so many beautiful, beautiful people in this line of work.
Yeah. Oh, you are making me cry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, but you do. And, you come into their lives at a time where they really, really need you. They need the help.
Absolutely.
And they need somebody who's going to provide the help and maintain their dignity.
Absolutely.
And I've seen agencies, being in the industry myself, I've seen agencies and caregivers that do not provide that dignity, that rob them of their dignity.
Yes.
And that's where, you really, you've always been my go-to agency. You've always been the one that I refer, to people because I've seen how you care for them. But anyways, all right, so we have about 2 minutes left in this segment. So I kind of want to go back. So you got your CNA license. You have 5 kids at home.
Yes. It was a circus.
And your income went down.
Immensely.
But you were happier.
I was happier. It was not easy. My poor husband, he owns his own business also. He does all natural.
What's the name of his business?
Primo Crust Company. It's an all natural artisan pizza shell and flatbread business. So he sells to distributors. So, school systems, country clubs, large establishment restaurants. So it's par baked, so it's easy, access and all natural. And he's had that for 25 years. So he's an entrepreneur, works 7 days a week. So we're always running, which is a good thing, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. So how long were you a CNA for?
Oh, probably about maybe 3 or 4 years. So with my business acumen, I was promoted to other things like community liaison and unit clerks. And from there, I met many people that worked in the non-medical home care. So that's how I transitioned to going from, because meeting people, I would go to synagogues and churches, to educate people on what hospice was. And I took a liking to doing the non-medical home care and worked for many other agencies.
That's awesome. So you're building your experience, helping people.
Correct.
And then one day you woke up and said, I'm going to start a business.
Yeah, right before COVID.
Because, you know why? I know, because I did it for the same reason. You did it, I'm going to guess, you did it because you provide top quality service.
Correct.
And you know that other places out there do not match the level, the quality that you provide, right?
Right. Well, when you are a CNA, from the bottom up what it entails to care for someone with cancer, a hip surgery, someone that's taken their last breath. And people really rely on you. I go and do every assessment, which is, complimentary. And I am, brutally honest with what I think. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse,
but you're an advocate.
But I'm an advocate because if I say, "Oh my goodness, that looks like whatever," because call your doctor. Exactly. So that's basically what our expertise is.
All right. So it's a great stopping point. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break. More from Elena.
TLC Senior Living Services. TLC's compassionate senior living specialists will assist you and your loved ones as you navigate these next steps in senior living. With years of experience in this industry, they know what to look for, and they know the questions to ask. TLC Senior Living Services will help find the most suitable living situation, will help find additional financial resources, and assist with the entire process. Cindy Seville, owner and founder, treats her clients with TLC. Yes, tender love and care. After working for various assisted living communities, Cindy decided to offer her wealth of knowledge to all seniors and their families. Cindy takes her time with you. She listens to you. She helps take the confusion out of your search and treats each and every client like family. Make TLC Senior Living Services your first call. Find out more at tlcseniorlivingservices.com. Ballas Associates, sales, service, and support for all your computer and PC networking needs. Whether it's wired or wireless, upgrades or repairs, backup or disaster recovery, we can provide the solutions to all your PC needs. No need to get frustrated. You know a guy. Just call Ballas Associates at 203-792-2300. That's 203-792-2300. Or visit them online at ballasassociates.com.
Welcome back to It Is What It Is with Cindy Seville and Elena Westhaver. So Elena, All right. So fill us in on what your last position was prior to opening, because obviously you went from a CNA to something. So what was that something?
Yeah, so basically I have a good friend who was managing a continuum of care in Connecticut.
Okay.
And she goes, Elena, I have this great opportunity as director of a non-medical agency here.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really sure if, Kylie was still young at the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, just come interview. Well, she interviewed me, took me on a tour of the facility, and within an hour, I was offered a incredible opportunity with an incredible amount of pay. So with that said, I had the most incredible career for about 3 years, and I had 200 plus caregivers reporting to me, an incredible amount of office staff, and my role was the director of the whole non-medical home care, but because I had so many caregivers that were excellent, and I run a tight ship. I mean, my office staff was like, here's Elena running a tight ship. Well, that's exactly how it's done, because they respect, and it goes both ways.
Of course.
And because, like we discussed earlier, on being a CNA, I know exactly what the job entails. So therefore, I couldn't, someone can't say, well, I can't do this. Well, if I can do it, you can do it. So we're here. I'll help you. Let me educate you on how to do it.
Exactly.
So we would have, morning report or management meeting once a week, and the numbers were going up and up and up, incredibly. We would probably land about, 20 cases a week, which is a lot.
Phenomenal.
Whether they were, and it wasn't all about money for me. It was about, growing the business and getting our name out there.
Yeah.
And one day they, in a management meeting, a certain person says, Elena, what's your marketing secret? Well, I'm a boisterous, Italian woman. I'm like, marketing? I'm like, this has nothing to do, which it didn't. And I wasn't being disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's not about marketing. It's about going into people's homes and doing that assessment and seeing exactly what they need. Okay, you really need to move that area rug, and you need to do this. And people really, it is a calling, and I will say the assessments is what I've enjoyed the most, because that initial rapport, they trust you immediately, and that's a relationship.
Exactly.
When we have clients, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's you're doing what's best for the client.
Correct.
And not everybody does that.
Well,
I mean, you're
exactly.
authentic. She's authentic. She's real, and that's what sets you apart, I believe, from all the others out
Thank
there.
you.
Because I know what's out there.
Well, exactly, and learning from the other being in other non-medical home cares, agencies, learning how people operated, and I really created a niche in that position. But what happened is, we all dealt with adversity, and it makes us stronger. And they restructured, and I lost my job. And I'm like, me? I'm like, we're making all this money. I'm like, but what happened? So I'm not really sure what happened, but I will tell you this. I didn't do anything wrong, of course.
Yeah.
And I had so many of my caregivers, Elena, open up your own. Elena, open up your own. We'll all work for you. And I said, listen, calm down. I said, I'll think about it. So basically in 2019, August 5th, I opened up my own.
Right.
And the one thing I want to make very clear, because, with all these other caregivers that wanted to work, with me, I made sure they made me a promise. You can't come in for an interview until you're finished with your assignment where you're working and they don't need care anymore. And that's how I operate. I did it honestly and with heart, because at the end of the day, all those people now work for me.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible. I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored to have really great people.
Yeah.
Really great people.
Yeah. But you tend to attract, people similar to who you are. And hey, that's why we connect.
Exactly.
Come on, face it. Good people, and good energy, and doing good
honest.
things, and yes,
Right.
real, honest, real, authentic. It's just
Right.
And again, in the industry, you don't always come across that. And I've been in healthcare myself personally I never thought I would be in healthcare, but it's not about me, it's about you. But 7 years, 7 years, and I love it.
Because you're a huge advocate of the elderly and people in need.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. taking them by the hand.
Yeah, and just guiding them through, every step of the way. Because it's a daunting, say someone's diagnosed, I don't need to even go there with you, with a cancer or, with an ALS or anything, and also when I opened Silvermine up, I knew that there was a need for excellence, or as I call it, concierge service, even though concierge doesn't mean it costs more. It just means that my two hands as president and CEO manages every single case and will never get so huge where I'm not able to do that because I have, support from my incredible, incredible staff. They are amazing because they have the same exact worth ethic that I do.
Yes, yes. Well, like you said, you run a tight ship. And it's so important.
Absolutely.
You show respect, you get respect.
Right.
And, people mess up, and this is not the kind of business where people can mess up.
Well, right. And we're, and if they don't know how to do something, they know that the door is always open. The phone, we're on call 24/7 for a reason. If someone needs something, because we're guests in people's home, and we specialize in caring for people in their homes from day one for them to take their last breath, that when they're sick.
That's a very how is that dealing with that? I mean,
it's not easy
because you grow to love these people.
Yes,
you become
it's not
part
easy.
of their family. You and all your caregivers, and you especially because you're involved in every case. So they become family to you.
They do. The way I see it, and it reminds me of my grandfather, God rest his soul. When I started doing this, he goes, I don't understand. I said, no. I said, what don't you understand? You got to take care of the dead people. I'm like, I'm not a mortician. It's like, so to educate. But the way I see it, someone has to do this level of care, and if you're good at it and you have a niche, then why not it be you? I have a client that that recently passed away. Again, with HIPAA, we can't say much. I met her husband 7 years ago, and he was my biggest supporter when I opened up. He found out through the grapevine because again, I was very very just didn't want to ruffle any feathers because my friends, work everywhere. And he's like, I want to come to the ribbon cutting. I'm like, okay. And he was front and center, and I didn't publicize the pictures because it's HIPAA related. And he shortly, a few years later, he was showing signs that he wasn't feeling well, and I had to sit him down and said, something's the matter and you're not disclosing. So I had to have that terrible situation telling him that I thought he had X diagnosis because of what I was seeing. And his words were like, Elle, I was given that diagnosis by the doctor, but I don't want to believe it. And I said, okay. I said, but let's keep it under wraps and discuss. So it's about having those, those discussions with, and he, he passed away, a couple years ago. And he said, Elle, I want you to make a promise to take care of my wife, and that's what we did, and until her last breath at home. So it's hard, but
but that you were a big part of why they were able to stay home.
Correct, with my staff.
And stay where they wanted to stay and be comfortable.
Exactly.
And all their needs are met. What kind of things what kind of services do you provide?
Yeah, so we're strictly non-medical, which means we have certified nurses, aides, and home health aides that go, and take care. So we do med reminders, showering. So we don't do anything like, administrating morphine. Or like we're not nurses, we don't do therapy, but we do range of motion. We do respite care for people that need, help with care. But a lot of times when we do respite care, the families are like, oh my gosh, the services don't cost that much. We really can use your help. And I'm all about, especially when people call for, assessments. A lot of times it's such a daunting gray area, if you will, that people have no idea what they need. So having that fresh set of eyes going in and saying, oh my God, Elle, what do you think of this? Right. So I said, well, you just came, your loved one just came from the hospital. You qualify, talk to the, the facility or the hospital. You qualify for assistance, through Medicare, visiting nurse for free. So I'm not about, let's get in there 24 hours a day. And that's not what it's all about. It's about providing that service of what they need. Not
So you actually give them, you supply them with information and resources.
Correct.
So if they don't really need your services at that point, you're going to tell them.
Absolutely.
Which I love.
Right, and it also works both ways. One
Yeah.
day, if they do need, they're going
Yeah.
to say, "Oh, Elle,
You'll be
I
the
talked
first
to you 2
one.
years." And I remember, I'm
Yeah.
as you know, as my friend and
Yes.
colleague, I'm very methodical and very neurotic. So I remember
You
for
are?
now. So I have charts. Very funny. I have charts. So someone will say, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I spoke to you, a couple years ago," and I'll say, "Okay, you live here, here, here," and
And you
and
remember.
I remember because we're boutique style and
Yes.
concierge.
It's relationship building.
Absolutely, without
Yeah.
question.
Anything, to be successful in anything, I
Correct.
believe it's all about relationship. People, I tell you all the time, people ask me, well, what's your sales technique or what's your
Please.
sales style? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's called the Cindy Seville style.
Exactly, just
Cindy
like-
Seville sales. I mean, really, it's my own technique.
Well,
it's,
that's
it's
just
just
it.
being real.
Right.
It's just listening to people. That's what you
Right,
do.
and
You
being
go and you
honest.
listen to people, and
Correct.
you listen to what their needs are, and you help assess the situation, and you tell them what's gonna, what they need to address their concerns, their
Absolutely.
issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what about ages? Like, what kind of ages do you?
Yeah, so basically we do anywhere from 18 years
Okay.
and over, so all adults, because there is a need for, people that have children with disabilities.
Yep.
Say that, they need, the mom and dad need to go out of the house and they need
Yeah.
us for, X amount of hours. We do everything from, a 5-hour or live-in. We do all of Connecticut, and we can also do live-in in New York. And basically, if there's a need there and you have a question,
Right.
just I just encourage people to just pick up the phone and don't be shy.
Yeah.
That we can assist you in any. So a lot of people have like hip surgeries.
Yeah.
Say they're 40 something or they had
Yeah.
an accident or a
Yep.
fall.
Yep.
A lot of times too now, because people are more well aware of signs of early onset dementia
Yes.
and Alzheimer's. That's a large area of what we cover as well.
Right.
And just like I said before, with respite, people are tired and they need a break. I'm going away for 2 weeks. Can you please come take care of mom and dad?
Right.
We also take care of couples, as well.
Nice.
And so it's definitely a blessing to do this
Yeah.
line of work.
So you have quite a staff.
We do. We have quite a staff, and people ask me, where do you find your staff? Well, my staff have, we work together as CNAs.
Yep.
They hear of, through word of mouth, and
Yeah.
they know that we, upon doing the assessment, I'm very cautious about what we're going into. So
Yeah.
say a person, calls me at 10 o'clock at night, oh, I need someone tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
I need to make them aware and educate them that I just don't place a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come see what they're getting into because I have to keep my staff
You
safe
never
too.
know.
It's my responsibility. They're my
Absolutely.
responsibility, and so is my client.
Absolutely. You never know, because I know there's been situations where there's hoarders.
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Or maybe even in real estate, selling real estate.
course.
I remember this one gentleman, when I went to go look at the house, this man, I think he had his own personal issues. Psychological issues, in addition to physical, but psychological issues. But his family was there, and he told me these horrible stories where I had to report these stories,
course.
get him help, because he was locked out of his house by his family members. He was kicked. He was stepped on. He was only allowed to eat at certain foods at certain times.
Wow,
Locked
that's
out of his
awful.
home most of the day. Supposedly, again, that was coming, and I remember when. And I believe it, actually, because when I was there with my son one day to bring back some signed paperwork, and the family tried to attack me.
Oh, my goodness.
And my son, and he was little.
Wow.
And they, and the man was hiding behind
Yeah,
me,
you
and
need
I
to be
thought,
very
what is
careful.
going
Yeah.
on here? So you're
Right.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You need to go into the home and
Right.
and
For
not
multiple
all
reasons.
Yeah, and there's a lot of agencies that don't.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will tell you this. The reason why I am successful with Silvermine at Home, I've seen all of the not so great things
Yeah.
and form them into the best of the best.
You learn from
and you
experience.
learn from experience,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I did it, and I do the assessments and,
Yeah.
and speak to people and, provide that match with that, that
Yeah, it's
personality,
matchmaking,
because
you're right.
well, that's just it, because so and so might not be great for Mr. Jones. So
Exactly.
and if we do place someone that and of course it's a phone call, say, oh, this person was a little too quiet for Dad, or they were too chatty,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I
Yeah.
want the families, because it is a partnership, it's teamwork,
Absolutely.
to feel comfortable. Please,
Absolutely.
Sometimes they just call the BS on the phone, and that's okay too. I think they just like
do that
hearing
all
my
the time.
voice.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, I'm Arthur Lee, founder, CEO, and inventor of LifeVac, a simple rescue device that could save a child's life in a choking emergency. All these people were saved with LifeVac. People may not realize that on average, 14 people a day die from choking-related incidents. Every 5 days, one of those is a child. As simple as place, push, pull.
To learn more, please visit lifevac.net.
Welcome back to It Is What It Is with Cindy Seville and Elena Westhaver. So Elena, all right, question for you. How did you come up with the name Silvermine at home?
Silvermine is an area of where I grew up, and it's a peninsula of like Norwalk, New Canaan, and Wilton. And one day the name just
Popped.
It popped.
Perfect. 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 I remember soon after we met, oh my God, I just refer you to everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And you know, and I still hear wonderful things from those people,
Thank
you know,
you.
about you. No, you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Tell me a little bit more about, now you've been in business since 2019.
Correct.
Okay. And I mean, obviously you've been very successful.
Thank you.
Very successful. I mean, people rave about you and the company and your caregivers. I've met quite a few, and yeah, I have to say, everybody seems so committed, you know, to what they're doing.
Thank you.
But tell me a little bit more about your company. What direction do you want to take? Do you want to go with this?
Well, you know, I always want to, you know, remain as concierge, you know, boutique, just because I want to have my hands, you know, on it. I'm a little, you know, I don't want to call myself a control freak, but I really, because of my knowledge, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have hired an office manager who's also an aide. And she does on call for me and does scheduling. Her name is Raj. I don't want to, you know, and she's excellent.
She's wonderful.
She's wonderful. And, you know, if I listed all my caregivers, I would be here, you know, till tomorrow morning. But, you know, I've had, you know, so many wonderful caregivers, and I just want us to continue what we're doing and just add that excellence and that, you know, boutique feel. And, you know, one thing I do want to bring to everyone's attention is, you know, people automatically hear, oh, concierge service, oh, they're more expensive. No, not at all. Concierge service just means that I'm giving that extra level as president and CEO to make your experience that much better, because no one does this. I don't personally know of a you know, a franchise, a non-medical franchise that has a CEO, many of them, and no disrespect, and they're all wonderful, because you know, it can be a very lucrative, you know, cash cow business. But that's not why I'm doing this. I do it, you know, for other reasons. I need the money, but I'm not here to be a millionaire. I just want to, you know, provide excellent care and have my caregivers, you know, make a good, you know, a good living and be happy at night. You know, because when you do this line of work, it's daunting and exhausting. So at least you can go home going, oh my God, Mrs. Jones never speaks, and she said hi. That's amazing.
Huge.
Things like that. That's one of the reasons why I wear my bling, because there are many nonverbal and clients that have, you know, end stage Alzheimer's, like, oh, ooh, pretty, or oh, hi, because it brings a level of, you know, difference in their lives.
Now, are you trained to work with people with Alzheimer's and dementia?
We are. So basically, you know, because all the caregivers are CNAs, they learn that in school. You know, it's a certificate from the state, and also home health aides.
And you only hire?
Yes, I only hire CNAs or home health aides. We don't do very few companion cases. And one of the reasons why, you know, if someone's, you know, saying, oh, my mom really needs help, she's having trouble walking, well, companions can't do that hands-on. So I couldn't provide. I would have
By
to
law.
say, well, right, because
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they would really need a different level of care,
Yeah.
and that's
Yep.
about educating.
absolutely.
And one thing too is which is also important, that we're licensed and bonded. So if something happens, it's our responsibility. I mean, we
Right.
don't foresee anything happening, of course. And
Right.
all of the caregivers are all background checks, so you're never going to have someone that has a record coming to your house.
Thank God.
And thank God.
See, that's another perk in calling you for a caregiver, and you might pay a little more than you would pay someone privately, but if you hire someone privately, you don't know anything about this person.
You can lose your house if someone say you work, say, oh, Mrs. Jones down the street says, oh, I use so and so, and
Yeah.
she works privately, and it's going to cost you less. But guess what? You can be responsible for their medical expenses if they broke a leg, and you really don't know who these people are.
In your home.
And you want, it's your loved one. You want
Yeah.
la creme de la creme to take care of your loved one.
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine wanting to save money that way.
Right. And you're competitive anyway with all the pricing
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
right. We're
Exactly.
right in the middle of, and if there is that one
Yeah.
family that, we'll do our best. I mean, I educate my caregivers also, with business, you need to make a certain margin in order, I mean, can't do this I wish I could. If I were a
Yeah.
millionaire, hey, everyone come on over. But I'm not. I wish.
No, she is one of the most generous women I have ever met. I mean, truly amazing.
Thank you,
I mean,
Cindy.
really compassionate. She thinks with her heart. I mean, you've got that business acumen. Yes, you do. Very, very smart and savvy. But she has a huge heart, and you need a heart when you run a business like this. And you definitely have it.
Thank
so
you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome. So, tell me about some of the things that you've had to do, that caregivers have had to do while on the job. You offer, yes, non-medical, but give me a little more detail on what that entails.
Sure. So my caregivers know that every day could be different.
Yeah.
And one family, recently, it was like, oh, mom's not doing well, she's not walking. So I had to, we have to continue educating. Make sure Mrs. Jones, is, if she's not walking properly, we need to reassess.
Yeah.
And
how often do you reassess?
Well, because by regs, we're supposed to go once every 60 days,
Okay.
even though we're not mandated because we're non-medical.
Okay.
I see people probably once every couple weeks, sometimes once a week, just because that's what the concierge, and you're not paying any extra for that.
And anybody could change. I mean,
overnight you could
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
times, the aide will call, oh, Elle, can you please come? Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so's, having issues swallowing. And,
Yeah.
we're non-medical, but
Yeah.
you'll call the family, we're having a little problem. It's
Yeah.
time to go see the doctor
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
and that,
I mean,
that's
listen,
what
they
it's
could
all
have a
about.
UTI, and
Correct.
a UTI
Yeah.
can create havoc.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, absolute havoc.
it's true.
Right. And within a split second, or,
Yeah.
someone could, have low blood sugar and acting funny, that's where you
Exactly.
seek medical attention. And, they're to report every single change in condition, and that's reported.
They document it.
Well, they'll call,
Yep.
the on-call number, and I document it, or the office
Yep.
staff will document it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, what other things do you bring them grocery shopping?
Yeah, all kinds of things. If they, need to go grocery shopping.
So, somebody who doesn't drive, for example, they've given up driving because it's not safe for them to drive, who just needs a little bit of assistance, like maybe some supervision when they're showering. They can shower themselves. They want to continue their privacy, their independence, but they're worried because they've already fallen and they're a fall risk.
Right.
So a little extra help where somebody can prepare the shower.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could do
Standby
that.
assist. We absolutely do
Standby,
everything
okay.
from total care to very little care.
And total care is literally
we're little
dressing,
everything, feeding, everything.
toileting, changing.
Right.
Now, what about somebody who's pretty bedridden?
Yep, we do
Tell
that
me
as well. And with I will tell you, sometimes they acutely get ill.
Yeah.
And with my hospice hands-on background, that's how,
Yeah.
And all of I would never put a CNA that doesn't have hospice experience on a hospice case. They
Okay.
would be lost and
Yeah.
they wouldn't know what
Yeah.
to do.
Right.
So we have plenty of people that have the hospice, and and they have to be turned in position every couple of hours. And we say to the family, we definitely need a hospital bed with an air mattress.
Yeah.
So it's all these little things that people have no idea
they
because
wouldn't
this
know.
is new. They wouldn't know.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I think sometimes when people go home from rehab, they're given advice, from the rehab facilities, all right, and they even help sometimes. They'll help order if they need a hospital bed, if they need a toilet seat riser, if they need walkers, and whatever they need. Most of them will have walkers already, but all of that. But no, that's wonderful. That's one. And so they can help. How many times? What's the minimum that you typically?
I'm honest with the families.
Yeah.
With COVID, a lot of people have not really wanting to work in the industry because they got scared. So I would say minimum like 5 hours, and
That's
which is pretty
realistic.
common,
Yeah.
and if the family can't afford it, be like, I don't want them to have to, do
Exactly.
the 5. And if there's a caregiver that will do the 3 hours,
Then you'll
of
do it.
course we'll do it.
Okay,
It has
nice.
nothing to do with the money. It's just about staffing it, because
Well,
that's the most
it's hard
difficult
to
part.
staff something if it's only. I mean, imagine going to a job and working for 3 hours and leaving.
Well, right, and then you're going, unless you're going, and with COVID, I don't allow, not that I don't allow because I have to abide by law.
Yeah.
I don't want them going from place to place, and that's one of the
course.
reasons why we never had, because of my neuroses, we never had one caregiver with COVID or a client.
Thank
Out of
God.
all, thank
That's
God, it's
incredible.
like
It's an
incredible,
incredible achievement.
incredible,
Yeah.
because I would, because I can't tell them, what to do,
No,
because
they need to make a living, right?
Well, correct, but I also, was very careful on not going into the
Yeah.
hospitals and waiting till they came home with a negative COVID test,
Yeah.
and then I would come, to the house to do the assessment. And people understood that, and they appreciate that
Yeah.
extra level of safety
Yeah.
for their loved one.
No, that's amazing. So you, at the end of the day, must feel so fulfilled, exhausted,
Exhausted, bags.
but fulfilled.
Absolutely. I'm very proud of what we have done. Again, to my staff, you guys are amazing, and anyone, wanting to work for an incredible agency, not because it's mine, just because we just do it differently.
Yeah, no, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You're definitely a step up above the rest. I mean,
Thank you.
Again, being in this industry, having my own business, doing all that I do, working in assisted living, memory care, the whole bit, going to senior centers, being out there, and meeting so many people. Yeah, there's some great people out there, great organizations,
Definitely.
but yours is just the levels above. I mean, you're really,
Thank you.
You're welcome. I would feel comfortable and confident with you taking care of my parents and my loved ones,
Thank you.
And I wouldn't think to call anybody else.
I will tell you, and I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart, I will tell you that I have taken care of people that working for other non-medical home care agencies that hired us because we did it that much better. And it had happened, board members of other agencies.
Wow.
And that is
That's
where, that
gotta-
just tells,
Got to make you feel amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, right there, that tells you. Mm-hmm. That tells you
'Cause we
that
just
if they're a
do
board
it.
member with a different home care agency, or another organization that could provide the care, and they're calling you.
Right.
That says, you know what, you're the tops. You're the what is it? Creme de la creme. I can't say it. Creme de la creme.
well, one of my co-workers, my friends, which you might, I don't want to mention
Yeah,
their name
yeah.
just because of,
Yeah, of course.
of HIPAA and everything else, but we were, I didn't want her to get in trouble, so she went to her boss, the CEO, and was like, I want Elle, and well, why her?
Yeah.
And she says, well, don't you remember what she created for us, before, she, we restructured? And she goes, she does it the way it's supposed to be done. She goes, and numbers don't lie.
They don't.
They don't lie.
There's the proof.
But
Proof is in
again,
the pudding.
we're out there to be respectful of one another. And I want to say one thing also.
Please.
I would never be sitting where I am as CEO, president and CEO, if it wasn't for people that mentored me, who I now call my friends. And now I'm blessed to be the mentor, because I want my staff. We have many young women, and men for that matter. Yeah. Oh, I could never do what you do. Yeah, you can. Yeah. You absolutely can do. If I can do this, you can do this. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that.
It's true.
Well, do me a favor. Tell everybody how they can reach you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Cindy, for having me. You're a doll, and
thank you.
You're welcome.
Really, for being
you can
here.
you can look us up at www.silvermineathome.com, or our main number 203-228-5007. And, just give us a chance if we're out in the field, but we'll call you right back. And, we have a website, and we'll answer any questions at all that you have, because I know it's very difficult navigating through this non-medical home care.
It is.
Looking forward to hearing from everyone. And if anyone is a CNA or an HHA looking to work for us, give us a call.
There you go.
Love to have you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing
Welcome,
your
sweetie.
story and what got you into, home care and owning this incredible home care agency, Silvermine at Home. So thank you, Al. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Love you to
Cindy.
pieces.
Love you to pieces,
Really
too.
blessed
Made
to
me
have
cry.
you in my life.
Me too. Me too.
All
I
right.
can't.
And we will be right back after this commercial break with my final thoughts.
Silvermine at Home, a Connecticut-based non-medical home care agency servicing Connecticut and parts of New York. Silvermine caters to their clients' needs while offering peace of mind to their families so their loved one can age in place and live their best life possible. Call today to see how they can make a difference in you or your loved one's life. Our family caring for yours. Visit silvermineathome.com or call 203-228-5007.
Welcome back to It Is What It Is with Cindy Seville. I hope you enjoyed the show. Elena Westhaver with Silvermine at Home is fabulous. She has a fabulous home care agency, and she said it perfectly. She said, if I can do it, so can you. And I believe that. If I can do it, so can you. You have to believe in yourself. Elena didn't start in home care. She started in the business world, and she wasn't totally fulfilled with the business side of it. So she decided she was going to take a step back and pay, but do something that she was really passionate about. And look where her passion brought her. It's just incredible. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you comment, like, and share if you want to win the book. And call Elena at Silvermine at Home if you need home care. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Live your life like a dreamer. Fly all over the world. Open yourself so the world can see. You're a beautiful pearl. Live your day like you mean it. And don't forget who you are. You're free to go